Welcome everyone to the Pimax NOW event. My name is Martin. You may know me as Sweviver, but I'm also the European Marketing Director on Pimax. Tonight I'm here with Kevin Henderson again, which is the COO of Pimax. Kevin, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing great. Great to be back. We're doing it again.
Great
Very
to see
exciting.
you again. Yeah, absolutely. It's been a while since our last show, of course.
Oh yeah, this time we're a lot further apart. You're in Sweden and I'm out here in Florida.
Yeah, I was just about to say
Social
that.
distancing.
Yeah, we keep the distance because of the coronavirus, of course.
Right.
But having that said, we're not live streaming this event either. This is a pre-recorded event which was made earlier today, and that is because we wanted to avoid any kind of interruption or any cutouts from the network as we experienced in the past. So this is recorded, but we are going to be available during the entire show in the live chat down here below on both the Pimax official YouTube channel and also here on Sweviver's channel. Also, a couple of employees from Pimax will be accessible to answer your questions, and also after this event, after the 1 hour around there, we're going to try to keep this event to 1 hour, right, Kevin?
Yeah, we're going to try to keep this one down, and of course we're going to follow what we've been talking about. We're going to follow this up with a Q&A where we answer questions. So we have a lot of questions from people, over 200, I think, and we're not going to be able to get to all of those. Of course, that's a huge number, but we're going to try to do as many as we can, and then we'll hit the forums and other places, and we'll answer more later as we go.
So anyway, before we begin, Nordic, the CEO of Pimax, wanted to send the best greetings and also a personal message to all of you out there.
Hello, Pimax backers, users, and friends. My name is Nordic, CEO of Pimax. Thank you for taking your time to watch this video. It's about 8 months since last Pimax Day, when it was all peace, no virus. Things changed. Would change, and the Pimax too. Back to the days of Pimax Kickstarter era. It was exciting, yet very scary at the same time. Exciting because we knew that we had just managed to introduce the technology that didn't exist on the market, and it had won the hearts of VR enthusiasts. But also scary, because frankly speaking, the size of the project surpassed our expectations within the original deadlines. After the honeymoon period, what followed with delay after delay, and not just a few times, but numerous times. That ended up earning Pimax an unfortunate image of endless delay. We were rightfully accused on social media and forums that backers for bad communications, lack of transparency, and of course many delays. It's all true, and we have learned our lessons the hard way. Previously supportive backers became disappointed and sometimes disgruntled, turning their backs towards us. What should Pimax do is never give up and to work closer to our users and listen more from you. Recently, the most of all, we are extremely proud and very excited to see your reactions and feedback to our new flagship headset, the Pimax AKX switches with native 4K rendering per eye, no screen door effect, and ultra-wide field view with maximum comfort and quality. And I am extremely proud to tell all of you, yes, we made it. Back in January of this year, Digital Trends awarded Pimax Vision AKX the best of VR AR device at CES 2020. For our entire Pimax team, this moment was a priceless moment of truth to see people from all walks of life, science, education, industrial designers, and VR enthusiasts' facial expressions after trying this groundbreaking device for the first time. We can't wait to share the ultimate VR experience. We are so fortunate to have such a diverse Pimax community with members of different backgrounds from all over the world that share the same vision with the Pimax team. We are truly blessed, and thank you for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Nordic.
Thank you, Nordic.
Right. So, Kevin, we have a fully packed schedule for tonight. We're going to try to keep it within an hour. There's a lot of things to be covered here, as you can see on the table of contents. And we have saved something very special for you at the end of this show, which is about the new Pimax VR Experience. It's one of my favorite topics, actually. And I promise you, you will like it for sure. So stay tuned for that. Kevin, I think we're going to start up with talking about the main event of this show.
Yeah, the biggest item is our new 8KX.
Yes.
And the 8KX for the backers. As you know, and everybody knows, we had almost 400 people who opted into the 8KX during the original Kickstarter. A lot of them got their samples. Loaners, of course, they've been returning those. Well, guess what? You know, now we're finally shipping the 8KX, and it's a pretty amazing that we've been able to complete this thing and get as many out as we have. A lot of people will be interested to know. Jump right in, give them some numbers. We have manufactured 215 units. The first 76 are sent. The rest of the 215 will be done in the next days. We think around July the 6th we'll have shipped to all or most of those that we produced. And of course, we're going to continue on. And in the month of July, we expect that everyone who is a backer will have their 8KX package shipped to them.
Wow, so you're basically saying, Kevin, that we have already sent 76 8KX units together with the standard modular audio strap to the 8KX backers as of today, right?
Yeah. So, and we also included the new thin foam, which basically no one has seen. We're gonna show that. I think that's a very exciting piece. It actually is a really neat improvements that you get from it. The 8KX, the new standard modular audio strap, the new thin foam, 215 people, which is almost 60% of all the backers who pledged for that item for the X have their units already manufactured. So
by the beginning of next week, we could say there's going to be more than 200 people who are going to have the tracking number. Yeah, 215 people who are going to have the tracking numbers for the 8KX. That's more than half of all the 8KX backers. Yeah,
there was 383 total, and it'll be 215 out of 383. As we move forward, we also commit that we'll get everybody done in the X backer in July.
Yeah, so first we begin with the backers, of course. It's almost 400 of people, and they're all going to be fulfilled during July, which is like, July begins in 2 days from now, right? Yeah. And then right after that, we're going to fulfill the backer upgrades. The people who, for instance, opted out from the stretch goals and went for an 8KX, for example, right?
Yes.
And right after that, which shouldn't take that long.
No.
Right after that, we should start with the pre-order phase, right? All the pre-orders, sending them to around the world.
And as many of these units as we're producing now, and you know, we started producing these back on May 25th, and it's a good thing we started then because it was real slow going at first. You and I were talking about this, and we thought, oh man, you know, at this rate, we'll never get them done. But then they started doing more and more and more. And then all of a sudden they say, hey, we did 20, we did 30, we did, you know, and that's much nicer numbers. We're like, wow, this thing's gonna ramp up quick.
And also, there is a good reason. I mean, except for the corona problem we've had worldwide, there are specific reasons why we had to delay the shipment of the units. Because let me tell you, we've done CES back in January. We did VR Days exhibition before that. We did the US road shows. We did a couple of European road shows before that as well. And we discovered some issues, some problems, some small modifications we had to make to get this unit to the stage where we actually can feel proud of it being final. We don't want to have like a development kit out there in the public. We wanted to have a final device.
At CES, we had 600, 700, 800 people try the AKX, and then in our road shows, we had a ton of people at each show try. And during that time, we learned so much.
Yeah, we thought that we had almost the final, basically the final unit back at CES, but we were wrong. We found problems, of course. We found problem with the hinges, with the mass, the audio. We found so many small issues, and we fine-tuned it. It took a couple of months, but as a Pimax employee myself, I can feel proud about the achievement we've made. How final this? Yeah, it turned out great. It's a final unit finally, and that's what's being shipped right now to the backers.
It's superior. I mean, the experience is better than the ones at CES by a long shot. The chipset used on the PCB is superior. All of the optimizations we've made in the driver are far better. I mean, there's just so much. The cables are new. There's just so much that has been done since then, that we've improved the hinges, we improved all of the way the housing fits together, and it's powered by USB. We did a lot of optimizations on the power. There's just so much that makes these units better than anything we've done before. And you're talking July if you're an X-backer, and then later you have August for your upgrades and some of the pre-orders. And I think we'll probably be completely done with the pre-orders in September.
Wow, that sounds awesome. I'm so excited to hear about the first impressions and all the backers' thoughts about the 8KX. And I mean, I'm quite confident. Yeah, and I feel totally confident that every single backer will be satisfied with this product. I mean, I've been testing the final units here. I have a couple of them with the SMAS, with the DMAS, which we're going to cover later. And I'm just amazed how far we have come. I mean, basically from scratch when all this began back in 2017, and the whole idea about the 8KX just was born, right?
Yeah. And some of the sayings came from the feedback. I mean, the CES feedback, people said, hey, if you had a thinner foam or one without the glasses cutouts on the sides, they said, why don't you do that? We talked to Robin about that day. He says, okay. He called the office, and then off we're running to get that in there. And a giant list of other little things that we thought would make it better.
Yeah, I could just mention the thin foam here. It's a new foam which has the same material, the same cloth, but it's thinner, of course, and it also do not have these cutouts for the glasses, which means it removes or eliminates the light bleed that you had in the past. Some people had that. Some people with more narrow faces and such, they could have some light bleed, especially when you had a very bright room environment. So yeah, that's gone. That's fixed now. And also, not only does it remove the backlight, but it also helps you with the distortion on the outer edges on the left and right peripheral view. Because some people can actually, a lot of people, or some people at least, can see some distortion, especially on the large field of view. I personally do not see anything on the normal field of view, but once I turn on the large field of view, I can see a little bit of distortion. But once I tried the thinner foam for the first time, it did really help. I'm not saying it's perfect now, but it's way better because the distance is minimized, or I mean, you get a little bit closer to the panels or the optics. But, I mean, the distance between your eyes and the lenses, and that really helps, I think.
I would add to that the mass helps with the visual experience too, because the headsets are designed to pull where the force on the back of your head, where it pulls directly towards your face.
Yeah.
And so you combine the thin foam and the mass where you tighten the headset directly evenly against your face. Those two things for a lot of people make a huge impression. Yeah. So and they really like it.
Absolutely. And Kevin, I think we have to add this though. I think we may have some new audience in here in this show, maybe looking at this live or right after or any day after. And all people might not really know what the 8KX is about. And I'm going to bring up some slides here so you can see the specifications of the Pimax 8KX or the Pimax Vision 8KX. As we said many times before, I just want to take it quickly, but this is basically the world's first native 4K per eye VR headset for consumers. So it's a consumer-priced VR headset with a wide field of view, with 4K per eye resolution. It uses RGB stripe matrix LCD displays.
High panel utilization.
Yeah, it's a higher panel utilization than the previous models of the Pimax. In the native mode, it uses 75 Hz refresh rate, but you can also turn on or enable directly in the PiTool software. With one click, you can change to the upscaler mode, and then you can run this headset in 90 or 120 Hertz refresh rate. So the specifications are awesome and basically tells you what this headset is about. It's probably the most sophisticated consumer-grade headset out in the market today.
Yep. And now that we've combined a lot of other pieces that we were missing before, the facial foams, the comfort kit, which is something we introduced in the Vision series with the AK Plus, is in this. The new modular audio strap, integrated audio. This is the full package, and it's the first time at Pimax that we've actually offered the 100% complete headset with all the pieces that we've envisioned, from the early days, and all these pieces take into account just countless amounts of feedback from customers and backers and others that pointed out what they'd like to see in these. The reason that we went modular on the audio strap is so that you could change out the foams, you can change out the on the comfort kit, the face pad. You can customize these headsets any way you want. Yeah,
and all of these accessories will be sold separately as well. If you want to combine something, if you want to switch the audio headphones or the comfort kit foams or whatever. So yeah, it's a modular design. That was the whole idea of Pimax from start, I guess.
Right. But we should mention a few things that are different about the AKX. Some technical changes. One of them is that the AKX doesn't have the top USB port. It only has the bottom one. That's one change. Yeah. And the second change is the 8KX uses USB for the power. All of our other headsets you actually have to use an AC outlet and plug them in. 8KX doesn't require that. You can plug it straight in your computer. It uses 2 USB ports.
Yeah, and lastly, we will cover eye tracking in a second. And if you're worried about the USB port and the eye tracking support, don't worry, we have a solution for that. Yep. So yes, Kevin, what's our next topic then?
Next topic is the Artisan. Of course, we've talked about this a little bit, but the new Artisan Limited Edition is the same as it's not a new headset. It's the same as the original Artisans, except it has the new ruggedized blue housing. It comes with the comfort kit. Of course, it's compatible with all of the other pieces that we make, and the thin foams and the modular audio strap and all of those things. But that's now back in our Pimax store today.
So Kevin, the new Artisan, is it going to replace the old one, or is it just a limited edition for now?
It's just a limited edition. Okay. This is just a limited run of these special Artisans with blue housing, with the ruggedized housing. We over time, as we do, with all of our headsets, we evaluate the parts. A lot of our headsets now come with the comfort kits that didn't come with it before. Yeah. So we analyze that as we go and make those decisions as we go. But this is a limited edition Artisan back in the Pimax store now. So people that have been waiting to see it in the store can pick one up now.
So it basically got the facelift. we can call it facelift. Yeah, with the new comfort kit, which tremendously improves the comfort and the distortion, as I said before.
And you can get the mask for it. It won't be long before those masks that we're manufacturing become available separately. That'll be in August. Yeah. But if you have an Artisan, you can add the Pimax MAS modular audio strap to it. Have the comfort kit comes with it already. Right. You can add things like eye tracking and hand tracking to the Artisan. You can change out the foams on the mask. You can do a lot with it that you can't do with other headsets. So I think people will like it a lot, and it has a very attractive entry-level price. So
I totally agree, and I'm actually looking the notes here. This version, the limited version or limited edition of the Pimax Artisan, is supposed to be up on our website now for purchase, right? And it's the same price as before. It's $449 plus shipping. Right. And we also are offering fast priority shipping with the FedEx and DHL dispatched within 2 or 3 business days. So that means quite a fast delivery, I guess.
Yeah, we've improved the shipment of the headsets quite a lot, and we're trying to improve all of our logistics across the board, which includes getting people their base stations and other things as fast as we can. Yeah. we've been increasing the staff that are dedicated to that. We've added a lot of things, live chat support, among other things, so people can reach us more often, more easily, faster, and so on. And we've got more work to do on that, but we're going to keep doing it. We're growing as a company, and we're going to keep adding.
Absolutely. And for those of you who do not know what the Artisan is about, I'm bringing you up some specifications here. And this is the entry-level Pimax VR headset. It has the resolution of 1700 x 4040p. It's RGB matrix panels. It has a very low screen door effect, just like the Pimax 5K Plus. It has a wider field of view than basically any other non-Pimax VR headset on the market. It's around 140 degrees horizontally or 170 degrees diagonally, right? So this is basically a Pimax wide field of view headset. It doesn't have the largest field of view mode though, but still, considering the price, the new ruggedized housing now, the comfort kit, I mean, this is quite a good package, I would say.
And it works with it can work with computers that have a little bit lower video card, a little bit less memory, lower processor, has a little bit less in the requirements department for your PC. So for a lot of people, it's a great entry level, and it can work with basically any computer. It has a decent discrete video card. No 2080 Ti is required for an Artisan. So.
Yeah, and a lot of people who have tested, who already purchased the original Artisan without the blue housing and without the comfort kit, they're super happy with it. Some people say that it even have better or less screen door effect than the 5K Plus.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a great offer. It's available now in the store if you are looking for an entry-level VR headset. And remember, the Pimax Artisan will only be available at our official Pimax store. So the ruggedized housing and the comfort kit will only be available through the Pimax store, for now at least. Right, Kevin, our next topic is eye-tracking.
Indeed.
7 Inventum.
We're now beginning to produce these things. So it's very exciting that we have our first 200 units shipping in July. 200 units, and it has their own box, their own packaging. They've it's something we've been working on and talking about a long time. And of course, we hoped we'd been out sooner, but here we are. We finally have them, and people are going to start receiving them that opted for them. The eye tracking has, in my opinion, is one of the best upgrades that you can get for a Pimax, because it's basically the equivalent of getting the next generation video card. When you add eye tracking to your Pimax, the benefit in frame rate that you get, and of course it has a lot of other benefits too that we don't want to ignore. Yeah, Kevin, we're going to cover that in a second, the dynamic foveated rendering. But I would like to ask first, or cover first, what are the differences with this new version of the eye tracking, or basically the final version? I have one of these here at home. I've been testing them for almost a week now. And I can say that the whole bezels are now thinner, right? The bezels around the eye tracking. Also the camera, or the housing for the cameras in front of here, which are, well, between your eyes and the chins, they are thinner as well, which means you get more space, for instance, if you use glasses, but also more space if you happen to have a big nose, just as I do. So yeah, there's been improvements. Also, the sensors around the eye tracking has been rearranged a little bit to optimize the tracking accuracy. Right. And the USB 3.0 versus USB 2.0, technically, the actual, as it moves where the rendering happens, is much faster than what we saw at CES and what we showed people at CES. Yeah, so some people. This unit's had a lot of refinements and a lot of technical improvements that were brought up at CES, where we worked with our partner and we're able to get those improvements in there. So we didn't release a lot of these things because they just weren't where we thought they should be. Yeah. And we just keep iterating until they're right. Absolutely. And the eye tracking is no exception. The eye tracking is made by 7 Inventum,
and it is a modular or a module, so you can easily clip it on and clip it off any of your Pimax headsets. It takes less than a minute, I would say. You take off the comfort kit, you clip it in. There are some magnetic clips as well. You could use the double tape thing, which is included as well, but you don't have to, because there are clips already made on any of the Pimax headsets, so it just fits right in there. They move together with the IPD adjustment, the mechanical adjustment. So of course, if you have like an extreme IPD of 72 or maybe 60, the eye tracking will work with any IPD as well, because it moves just like the lenses does.
Yeah, that was part of the changes, was to get in their ability to work with a lot wider variety of people, and to make sure that it uses the full field of view that a Pimax headset has. And it's not just clipping, but it's also being able to detect the position of the eye and within the wide field of view. So, you know, you had a lot of aspects of that we had to work on, and this is what we hoped it would be. And those are in full production now, so everybody who is expected to get their eye tracking module will see them in July and August, and then we'll make them available for $199 on our website.
That's great, and the backers can get them for $99, right?
Yes, which is less than the cost it is to actually make the thing. So, backers, I highly recommend that you jump on the $99 deal for the limited time that it's available. It's a special deal that we made together with 7invensun. They were nice enough to work with us to make that happen. So the $99 will be available to backers, and then later we'll increase the price and we'll put it up as an item that anyone can add.
Absolutely. Kevin, I want to get a little bit deeper into the eye tracking here, and also the dynamic foveated rendering. Some people might ask, why eye tracking? I mean, there's not so many games yet who uses eye tracking really, and not many games can actually take or use the potential, bring the potential out of eye tracking, I guess, not at this point. But there is one thing that actually brings my attention and what makes me really excited about this eye tracking, and that is the dynamic foveated rendering. If you're familiar with that, or if not, you may have tried the fixed foveated rendering on your Pimax, because it's already built into the PiTool, where you're limiting the resolution outside of the center view of where you're looking, right? That's the fixed foveated rendering. It can be made in different levels, in different strengths, how much you want to reduce the resolution. But now we have basically the same thing with dynamic foveated rendering, where those foveated areas are moving together with your eyes, where you're focusing, where you're looking. Those areas are going to move with your eyes. So you always look, the point where you're always looking at will always be sharp and full resolution, while the outer parts where your eyes cannot even distinguish any details, those areas will be less resolution.
And the key to that is that it moves around fast enough to stay with your eye.
Yes.
Otherwise, it becomes very distracting.
Absolutely. There's no lag. I can testify here, there's no lag at all. I cannot see any latency issues at all. I've been using it for a week now, and I've done some tests, which I will go into any second. But I also want to add that this was actually discussed during CES earlier this year, when I met Andrew from 7invensun. He told something specifically which brought attention to many people. The DFR, the dynamic foveated rendering, will be on driver level, which means it's basically based upon the NVIDIA VRS, which is the variable rate shading. And that also means that the developers of games do not need to do anything for the game to support dynamic foveated rendering, because it's built on driver level. It's going to be built into PiTool just like fixed foveated rendering is, and it's just going to work right off the box in games like Half-Life Alyx, Skyrim, Fallout 4 VR, and many others. Like most of the games, I would say 90% or even more will work with dynamic foveated rendering right away out of the box.
Now, one thing you should mention, though, is that it does require that VRS and our DFR mode requires an RTX video card. You have to have an NVIDIA RTX video card to use that feature. So if you
Yes.
are looking at the eye tracking, if you're looking to get the eye tracking, yes, the eye tracking has other abilities and features that can work with other video cards, but the DFR feature itself does require an RTX. Yeah.
So yes, and there are also some exceptions when it comes to games. I've seen a few, just like for instance, I'm going to give you one example, and that is Assetto Corsa, which by the way is quite well optimized for VR anyway and runs perfectly smooth on the 8KX, but it does not gain from dynamic foveated rendering, which is strange. But I think that those games that do not support it as of now will have that changed by the developers, because there's something probably in the rendering pipeline that prevents foveated rendering to work as intended, I guess. So Kevin,
Yep.
before we move on to the next topic, I think I want to bring out some numbers and some benchmarks I've made.
Yes. I'm so glad we're able to do that, and so people can really see what they can expect to see from the DFR mode and why you would want it or not want it.
Absolutely.
I'm glad you did some great testing so people can find out.
Yeah, due to the limited amount of time I had, especially preparing for this event and also some other projects which we will talk about later,
yes.
I only tested 5 different VR games, which happens to be probably some of the most popular VR games on the market today. And the games are Skyrim VR, The Walking Dead, Saint of Sinners, Zero Caliber, Half-Life Alyx, of course, and The Forest. Well, for all these tests, I have used DFR at aggressive mode, which is basically the max mode of dynamic foveated rendering, because I wanted to see the full potential of what the DFR can really gain in terms of performance. So I have to also apologize for the low recorded frame rate of this recording. The games were running smooth, but the recording itself looks a little bit stuttery. That's because of the current Steam VR version, which has a bug. It's well known, it's well discussed right now everywhere, because nobody can really record videos in the full frame rate right now because of an OpenVR bug. Anyway, all tests are made on the final Pimax 8KX or the Vision 8KX version, which I have over here in the native 4K resolution. Now my GPU is in RTX 2080 Ti and my CPU is an Intel i9 9900K processor. So yes, it's a beefy PC, right? But we are actually trying to push the limits of these games and really increase the graphical fidelity to the max. And remember, all these 5 games, well, at least 4 of these 5 games can run smoothly on an 8KX, unless I go too far with the settings, which I've done in this test. So let's begin with Skyrim then. I'm running it in large field of view mode with the full native resolution of the 8KX. It's SteamVR Super Sampling 100%. Both the Super Sampling and the game graphical options are maxed out completely. So when running this without DFR on, I get 55 frames per second in average, which is way lower than usual, of course. If I turn down a little bit of the settings and run in normal field of view, that would be perfectly smooth. But now it's extreme conditions, remember that. Now, once I turn on the DFR, the dynamic foveated rendering, we get a stable, smooth 75 frames per second frame rate in this game on the 8KX. That's an increase of 36%.
One thing that you might mention is that 75 frames per second is the maximum that you can get on a native mode in the 8KX. So the real benefit that you're getting from eye tracking on Skyrim is actually probably higher.
Probably around 40, maybe 45%. Now, let's move on to the next game. I'm going to talk quickly through this. The Walking Dead Saint and Sinners, also maxed out in all settings, large field of view, and also in-game there's a super sampling slider which I put into 125%, which is crazy high, especially considering we're already running this on 4K resolution, right? So I'm not using any anti-aliasing because it's really not necessary at this point. Without the DFR, I get 63 frames per second. Turning it on, I get a stable 75 frames per second and could probably go like 85 frames per second on average. So the increase here is 17%, which is I think is the lowest one in this test, but it still shows how much the dynamic foveated rendering can do even with a very optimized game like The Walking Dead Saint of Sinners. Now the next one is Zero Caliber, a very GPU heavy game. I mean, in contrast with The Walking Dead, for instance. Same here, PiTool render quality 1.0, native resolution, normal field of view in this case, because this game is so heavy for the GPU already. Steam VR is at 100% super sampling, the in-game super sampling also 100%, and the game options are maxed out. Now, we get 58 frames per second without the DFR or the dynamic foveated rendering. Turning it on gives us an instant 75 or full frame rate on average. There are a few minor frame drops when a lot of explosions happen or when a lot of enemies or opponents just jump right in front of the screen, but most of the time it's just smooth. And that's an increase of 27% when it comes to frame rate. When it comes to Half-Life Alyx, which is a very optimized game already, I have a difficult time to actually get any stutters on the 8KX with my 2080 Ti whatsoever. In this case, I ended up, because I wanted to push it to the limits, right? I ended up using the large field of view. I also ended up turning off the dynamic resolution in Half-Life Alyx. I turned it off and I put the graphical in-game settings to the max level. It's quality level 8, it's called. That was the maximum one. You cannot get the game look better than this. Now, without DFR, we got 62 frames per second on average. It was still running quite okay, considering how crazy, high fidelity we got here. I don't think many people will use these settings whatsoever anyway, and I don't think anyone runs this game with such a high resolution anyway. But with the dynamic foveated rendering, suddenly the game was running butter smooth in 75 frames per second on the 8KX, which is an increase of above 21% or around 21%. And have in mind, this is a very optimized game and still you can squeeze out so much just by running a DFR. Lastly, the forest. You might ask, why am I even adding the forest? It's not really a new game, but let me tell you, it's one of the most popular games still yet today and one of the most sold ones on Steam when it comes to VR. Now, I've never got this game to run above 60 frames per second on the 8KX before because it is so demanding. It's crazy. Whatever you do with the settings, it's still going to be 60, 50 frames per second or whatever. Now, without the DFR, I was running a normal field of view, super sampling 100%, and medium to high settings in game. I got 49 frames per second. Well, we're running this on the normal field of view, but it's quite a high resolution. But listen to this, once I turned on the DFR, I got 72 frames per second on average, and many times the game was running in 75 frames per second smooth. So this basically makes the game smooth, and that is an increase in performance of plus 47%, which is crazy in my opinion. What do you think, Kevin?
It's amazing. Not only that, it's, some of those frame rates some of these games can put out are kind of below sometimes, unless you just really hurt the settings, knock them down.
Oh yeah,
they're kind of below what would be comfortable. And with the eye tracking, you can pretty much across the board run anything and get a nice frame rate. And on top of all of that, you can go, if you go into the scaled mode for things like like 11 tennis and things, table tennis and things like that need a higher frame rate. The eye tracking benefits you there too, because
Absolutely.
you can go to a much higher frame rate anyway.
Yeah, and lastly, some people who are using the fixed foveated rendering right now, they might be thinking like, well, you see some shimmery at the sides where the resolution is lowered or decreased, right?
Right.
I can tell you that you don't see that really with dynamic foveated rendering because it moves with your eyes. So that little resolution decrease is hardly ever noticeable, at least in my opinion. It's a great feature and it's way better than the built-in fixed foveated rendering feature we already have in PiTool.
Right. Let's talk about hand tracking.
Yes, hand tracking from UltraHaptics. Kevin,
yeah, so
what's happening?
Same thing. Hand tracking is just a little bit behind the eye tracking. And right now we are producing the first 200 hand tracking units, and we'll be shipping those in late July. So we'll be shipping those in July as well. They're a little bit behind the eye tracking.
Wow,
and,
a lot of things will happen in July, I think.
I know, right? And some of the improvements that we made to these technically. One of the main one was the field of view that it can actually track your hands. So your hand motion is actually much greater than the field of view of the AKX or any of our headsets. It's the general field of view is roughly 220 degrees horizontal. So it can track your hands closer to your body and further away, and even in a very wide angle. So it's better than any hand tracking that's been produced before, more advanced, and shipping literally in July and towards the end of July, and it's also ramped up so that we're producing more. So even beyond those 200 units, people will be getting them, and so there will be pretty good quantity on the eye and the hand tracking, and of course on the AKX as well. And so, it's an amazing time that we have this package where people have so many options,
Absolutely. I'm getting the final, or basically I think it's the final version. I'm getting it later this week, and I'll try it out and I'll report my findings and my first impressions of it. I've been using the next latest version of the eye tracking so far for this video. This is what you see on the screen right now. And the new version, as Kevin just told you, has some minor adjustments to the housing. So the camera's positions of the cameras are a little bit different, right? To be able to produce a wider field of view.
People should know that they should install the latest PiTool when they get their eye tracking and hand tracking, because the drivers for the hand tracking and eye tracking are all integrated into PiTool. So when you install PiTool, it pulls those in with it. So when you receive these, you want to make sure you do go ahead and install the latest PiTool at the time.
Yeah, and later in July, when we start to ship these things, we are gonna make a cool list of things. I may do some videos on my channel as well about the cool games and experiences and VR simulators and such you can use together with the UltraHaptics finger tracking. And there's also one more thing, and that is the Pimax VR Experience, which will support hand tracking interaction. We haven't got that far in our plan here today, but
we'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later. I'm also going to demonstrate a little bit of it.
Another big one coming up here is talking about those stretch goals. I think it's pretty fundamental that we give a decent stretch goal update. I think a lot of people are watching. That's the primary reason they're tagging along here, is to see what's going on with those stretch goals. Don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. The stretch goals are important, definitely. So
of course, people should know that we've made changes. We've made changes to the stretch goals, and the original versus what the original stretch goals were, and we've listened to people and listened to what the kinds of things that they wanted to see in the stretch goals, and especially kind of as a group, where a higher percentage of people get what they want. So what we've done is we have a new stretch goal package, and the new stretch goal package includes the very much requested comfort kit, which comes with the foam with the glasses cut out. So we're also going to include the new thin foam, which without the glasses cutouts, and where it's much closer to your eye. We're going to include the protective silicone sleeve, which people ask for a lot. And you're going to still get the two software pieces, and you're going to get a new mass, which the people originally were going to get the standard mass. We're going to upgrade everyone, and they're going to get the deluxe mass, and we call it the Kickstarter backer deluxe mass, which has audio performance equal to our deluxe mass, which is full of bass and is a real rich sound. And so they're going to get the fully upgraded mass along with the kit as well. What we have removed from the kit is a prescription lens adapter. We're not going to do the prescription lens adapter now. We're not going to do the fan, the cooling fan, and we're going to remove one piece of content. So it'll be of course, those pieces of content weren't the best things. The free content. But so the fan, the prescription lens adapter, which is actually replaced by the eye tracking unit that can take that, and the one extra piece of content. Instead, you're going to get this big upgrade on deluxe audio strap. You're going to get the comfort kit. You're going to get the protective sleeve. You're going to get the thin foam, and the two original software titles that most people have already received.
Yeah, I think that's a more reasonable, bundle, especially for
Much more
people who,
desirable bundle
yeah,
anyway.
if you're not
Yeah.
using glasses, you don't need the prescription lens adapters. And the fans, of course, I mean, they are already
That's the
available.
only that's the only part that's really removed technically, because the eye tracking gives you the prescription lens adapter anyway, so you can put the lens down in there.
Yeah, and as a stretch goal, you can get the eye tracking for $99 only. So
That's right.
that's also a part of the stretch goal, privilege, I guess.
Indeed, indeed. And another announcement related to that we're going to do is that those will all come to you in a single package.
Yeah.
So there's not going to be, a lot of people were very worried that they'd end up getting a whole bunch of different packages over time, and it'd be a huge hassle for the backers to try to figure out which things are sent to them and which things aren't, and all of that. So what we've done is we've got a unique package, a special package that contains everything all in one. It's the backer package, and then we also have a special website where people can track all of their backer items, and it shows you the tracking number. It shows you, and here's the slide. It shows you the tracking number. It shows you your codes.
For the
included
free
in
content.
this is your wireless adapter coupon, which for $100 is also included. So, and your ability to get the $99 eye tracking is right there. So the entire, you can see what's going on at any time from now. When we get this page up, you'll know what's going on all the time. There'll be no debate about it.
And when is the page coming up? Is it now in July as well?
Yeah, we're going to be shipping the Kickstarter backer kit, which comes with all-in-one. Will happen in August.
Yes.
And of course, we're going to talk a little bit more about the masks in a minute and the different flavors of the masks. So now that people know that there is a Kickstarter backer mask, it's a deluxe that uses the deluxe speakers, and
yes, we're going to come to that. Yeah,
we're going to come to that. We're going to show you a lot more information about that. So stay tuned for that. But the big thing is you're going to get them in one package. It's going to happen in late August. And then one other thing we're going to talk about here is if anyone, we know some people think, hey, it's been so long. They've been waiting forever for these things. What happens if we talk about it and somehow it still doesn't happen, right? So what we're going to do is anyone who does not receive their tracking number for their stretch goal kit, which includes all these items I just talked about with the coupons and all the other parts, you don't get that by October 31st, you can request $150 cash refund to your PayPal account. So anybody who doesn't get the tracking number before October 31st can get $150. If they don't, they're not forced to do that, but they'll have that option. You can get $150 back to your PayPal account after October 31st.
Right, and later this year we will have the stretch goals available at the website as well, right?
Yes. Yeah, so we're gonna offer this kit. We're gonna have it in a package where these kits can also just be purchased. So if you're a backer who opted out of your stretch goals before, and you're like, man, I wish I had gotten them, or that kind of thing, there'll be a special price for you. You'll be able to get them, and in its own kit, and it'll just be on our site. We're gonna have a special backer portal where backers can log in, and they'll be able to see these items, and they can get the backer kit. The only requirement is that you're a backer to get the special pricing.
Right. So optionally, a backer could opt out from this program, get the $150 refund in October, you said.
Yeah.
And then for that money, simply
and then get it later.
And it won't cost more than this, right?
Right. It'll be less than that. We're not announcing the price, but it'll be less than $150. Which is a special backer price. This is not the price that others will see. It'll just be for the backers, a special price.
Right. That's great. And also we have another alternative if you don't want to wait for the stretch goals, right, Kevin?
Right. So we have a new alternative. If you opt out of your stretch goals, and again, even if you opt out of the stretch goals, there'll be an opportunity for you to get that in a kit later. But if you just say, hey, I want to opt out of the stretch goals, we have a new option And the new option is, if you opt out of your stretch goals, you can get an 8KX for $949.
That's great. And
So,
that's together with this standard modular audio strap, just like the backers
yeah,
get right
you
now.
get the SMAS anyway.
Yeah.
So you can opt out, pick up an 8KX for $949. Of course, that can't be combined with any other coupon or offer or anything, but you can just get an 8KX for $949. And on top of that, we're allocating 500 units of the production, and this offer is limited to only 500 units. So it's the first 500 people that do this that can opt out and pick up an 8KX for just $949.
So right after we have fulfilled all the 8KX backers,
correct,
and we are going to reserve 500 units for this purpose, right? Up to 500,
correct.
And then the people who opt in for this plan or choose this plan, they won't have to wait until all the pre-orders and all the other guys have got their units, right? It's going to be
right, and we're ramping up to a great degree anyway. So people that are pre-orders and upgrades, you don't need to worry either. We've increased again. We've built the first 215 units, and we're moving fast now anyway. Yeah. So we consider this our flagship headset. So all of our production and allocation, the percentage of what we do at the factory is already much higher than other headsets. So the ramp is going to be real good anyway. But we did allocate 500 units just for this opt-out plan. So if you're interested in that, you just let us know. We're going to have a link that you can click on to actually activate that.
Right. And if you keep the stretch goals, the website where you can track your items, the whole stretch goal box, it's going to be available soon. We're going to announce that in the forums. Also, all the backers will get an email, of course. So you will be notified once that page is up.
Yep.
Right.
Let's talk about the mass, man. That's something we worked so hard on.
Oh yeah, that's been a big one.
We really put so much effort into the modular audio strap and receiving feedback on where the foams should be and how it should work and how you tighten the thing and all of that. And so of course this mass is different. Is different than a fair amount than what we showed at CES, for example. There's been a fair amount of changes to it since then. But the audio of the SMAS is vastly better than it was at CES.
Yeah, Kevin, let me tell you.
It's not as good as the Deluxe. Nowhere near as good as the Deluxe, as you have said. Your face. By the way, a quick little story here. I was on a Skype call with Martin when he first put the DMAS on. Yeah. And the look on his face was shock.
That was this unit, the DMAS.
It was just shock.
It was the first time I put it on. I was completely blown away. It was crazy.
He was blown away by it.
Of course, I was expecting it to be better. I mean, I was expecting it to be better than the standard audio strap. You have both of these here, and I'm also showing some video overlays. But I wasn't expecting such a huge difference, and I wasn't expecting so powerful sound and so much bass from speakers, which are still, I mean, they're not over your ears. They're just like the valve index. They're like a couple of centimeters or 1.5 centimeters from your ears. So it's not really closing out the sound, right? But it still gives such a powerful volume, the frequency response, the bass also, which is I was blown away. And I think you have to try this to really understand it, because some people might think, Martin is a Pimax employee, he's just trying to hype this up. But really,
I think people will universally hail the DMAS as probably the best audio you can get in a headset.
Absolutely. Having that said, the standard modular audio strap, I can just bring out the short details here. The standard modular audio strap.
You were surprised at what that did. You were. I remember when you put that on for the first time. You're like, "Hey, man, this is so much better than what we had at CES."
Oh yeah. Listen, CES was not the final product. It was like kind of like a release candidate version, but since then we have replaced the audio headphone drivers. I mean, the speakers inside
and the
are
sound
replaced.
chamber.
The sound chamber is totally remade. It's also thinner, as you can see here on the pictures. It's thinner than before.
It's like half.
Yeah, it's like not sticking out as much. The volume is louder. The definition of the sound is way better now. You don't feel that clunky sound really, like the plastic sound you heard before. It just felt cheap before. And that's what other reviewers said in the past as well. But that was not the final unit. Now we're here with this unit, which is, I would say, it's beyond what the Oculus Quest is doing.
It does not have like a thumping bass to it. You know,
No,
it's nothing like that.
It's not by Dr. Dre, you know. Yeah, exactly. It's not really gonna give you the high bass, the deep bass, of course, but it's still the frequency response curve or the charts are still not bad for this speaker.
No, not at all.
Yeah,
let's put those up. Let's show people what the frequency response is for all three masks. So you have the SMAS, you have the KDMAS, which is the backer mask, and the DMAS. So let's show people what that looks like.
Yes.
And while people are looking at that, let's talk a little bit about why there is a KDMAS. So why don't you elaborate a little bit on why we have a KDMAS?
Well, first of all, the headsets which were done until basically now, almost, except for the 8K Plus, we're using one single audio jack on the left side, right? It's located over here. There was no audio jack on the other side. So we had to make two different versions of the strap to begin with. One which supports the one audio jack, and also one that supports the two audio jack solutions, which the Pimax Vision 8KX, the Vision 8K Plus, the upcoming Vision 5K Super is having. And also, besides the audio jack, it's also those new VR headset has a different PCB. It's different electronics inside. It has more powerful amplifiers. I think it's called amplifiers inside for the sound, which means they can drive more powerful speakers. Which means if you would connect, even with a white splitter cable, I mean using both these cables on each side and connected to a white cable and connected to the left audio jack or the 5K Plus, you would get sound, right? But it's not going to be as powerful because the PCB inside of those headsets, those previous headsets, cannot power the audio driver as much as the new headset can. So this is the main reason why we went for a third version of the mass, which is called KDMAS, which is the Kickstarter backers deluxe audio strap.
Well, first of all, the audio performance, we should say, between the DMAS and the KDMAS is close, as you saw in the chart.
Yeah.
But you know, as it turned out, people who have an 8KX and 8K Plus have the option of all three. They can choose any of the three. Of course, well, the big thing that we should mention is that if you have a 5K Plus, your only option is the KDMAS. Now, one thing that you should know that's very important is that you can still remove the speakers from the KDMAS, and future speakers that we add, we'll be able to just plug right in. But what you can't do is add the DMAS or the SMAS onto a KDMAS headset. It does work, and you can put it on there, but the volume levels are low when you do.
Right. So as you can see,
not recommended.
Yeah, I bring up a chart right here so you can see the compatibility between the headsets and the three different masses, the modular audio straps. And as you can see, the 8KX and the 8K Plus and the 5K Super supports.
Work with anything.
Yeah, works with everything. And also, the modular audio, the standard modular audio strap works only with the 8KX, 8K Plus, and the 5K Super, as well as the DMAS, which also only works with the latest versions, the Vision series of the Pimax headsets.
Yeah, well, it should be noted that the body of the mass is the same for all three.
Right.
So the foams and the body and the way it tightens on your head and all the construction and everything, they're all made the same. They're all manufactured at the same time. The difference is the speaker assembly.
Yeah. So as you can also see, the Artisan is the same case as the 5K Plus and the old 8K and the 5K XR. It will not support the standard modular audio strap or the deluxe modular audio strap. For now, at least, it will only support the Kickstarter deluxe audio strap, or the Kickstarter Backers Deluxe audio strap. Now, there might be other versions coming out later because it's a module design, of course, so we might do other versions of these straps because it's also so easy to just switch between them. We might have other companies as well doing speakers for us. And you might be amazed, or well, surprised at least, how easy it is to switch those. It's all about just unscrewing a screw from the backside here. Just remove the foam, unscrew that little screw, and switch between the SMAS or DMAS or whatever. It's really, really simple.
I guess the next thing we should talk about with the mass is when, right? People are very interested in the when. When can you get your DMAS and when can you get your KDMAS? Of course, right now we're already producing the SMAS. Those are in production. They're on the line, and we might have some photos of that we can show people. Yes. But we are about to produce the DMAS and the KDMAS. Those will be in August. So those are both go into production in August and begin shipping in August. I imagine a lot of people with the DMAS will begin to receive them in the latter part of August.
Right.
So only a month away before, a little over a month, 6 weeks away, people will start seeing those. Yeah. And the KDMAS will mostly be shipped in the backer package that we've talked about. But people that have an Artisan that have a lot of these other headsets will be able to get them. And we're going to, as we increase the volumes, we'll begin to offer that in the store. And, of course, we're going to begin to offer that in some of the packages of headsets that you get where you can get that, where that'll come with it, just like the Comfort Kit does.
Right, right. And some backers may ask, but why do I have to wait longer for my mask because I was the first backer and blah, blah. But here's the thing, we're upgrading your modular audio strap right now. You get a deluxe version, which is basically like this one. It's better, it's improved, it has better sound.
Much better.
Yeah, it's way better, but it comes with a price of waiting a little bit longer. It's just, we're talking about 1 more month or so. It's all about that. We wanted to reward the backers, basically. We could have made it simple like this, but we chose to do something better for the backers. And of course, the KDMAS will be sold separately. By the time all the backers are fulfilled, we're going to sell all the 3 variants of the speakers and the entire straps with the speakers separately as well in the store on the Pimax website.
And future variants as well, and third-party variants as well. I mean, it's a modular audio strap, the foams, the speakers, of course, the Comfort Kit foams and all the parts that where you use the headset are changeable. So a lot of people will have all sorts of variants of the audio and the foams and how the head strap is positioned.
Right. Okay, Kevin, so I think we have talked enough about the modular audio straps for now. Yep. It's been quite a long chapter here, but let's move on to the next one. What is our next topic?
Let's talk about the Pimax controllers.
Right.
Let's talk about the Sword and the Sword Sense controllers. I think that's something that we focused on until later part of last year, where our engineering teams got those all the way to prototype phase, where you and I were playing around with them when we were there, and then later at CES, we had the samples, right? And they were playing around with them. But of course, we really started late last year. We really started focusing hard on the mass and on the 8KX and the eye tracking and hand tracking. We had to really make that tough decision to just focus and get these things shipping and out there. And now that we have the 8KX shipping, as we're announcing here today, and now that we have right at the tail end of the eye tracking and hand tracking, we're producing those, and the mass, which is long awaited. There's 3 variants of that. Now our engineering team can begin to focus again on the Sword and the Sword Sense controllers, and let's see how fast we can get this thing finished. And with the whole team, which is a larger team now, by the way, moving over to the Pimax controllers, we think we can get these things done, much quicker and get them out. It'll be towards the end of the year is what we think. But course, we know that people have been waiting forever for these things, and we know that some people are just frustrated. That, of course, we offered that people could upgrade to the index controllers, and we've shipped literally thousands of upgrades to the index controllers and the index base stations, which we've offered as an option. But some people wanted the Pimax controllers, and they don't want the index controllers. Not everybody. So we're going to offer a new option for people that have been waiting so long. Anybody who has a Pimax Sword or SourceSense controller that they've made with Pimax, we're going to offer you an option to get a refund. And
that includes the backers, of course, right? If you have
anyone at all. If you're any person who ordered a Pimax Sword or SwordSense controller, we're going to offer to give you your money back, the amount you paid. So in the amount that you paid. So if you don't want to wait anymore, and then of course, if we give you your money back, that's fine. We'll have these available for sale later anyway. So once they become available in the store, in a Pimax store, and then maybe later on Amazon and things like that, you could get them. But for now, hey, if you feel like you've waited enough, of course, we'd like to try to make amends on that by going ahead and provide refunds for anyone that wants one.
And now, what's important to add here,
opts to get a refund, they can create a ticket on our Pimax support system asking for a refund. You want to provide your order number so that we know what it is, and then you will be opted into the refunds, and then those refunds will begin appearing for people's PayPal accounts in late August.
But having that said, we still want to clarify that we're not giving up on the development of the Sword or SwordSense controllers.
Just acknowledging that there are a lot of frustrated people out there who waited a long time, and I imagine that some of those people would rather just simply see their money back and then apply that money to something else.
Absolutely.
Maybe they apply it towards an AKX. Maybe they apply it to someone else's headset, or to whatever they want. To software on Steam or whatever they want. But we would like to offer anybody who's tired of waiting their money back. So we're gonna offer that as an option. Now, one thing people know, that since we do have the base stations, we made a significant commitment to base stations together with Valve, that we're not offering refunds on base stations because we're shipping base stations. So anybody who has a base station order with the controllers, you'll still get your base stations. You'll just get the refund on the controllers.
And we have already sent thousands of these base stations as far as I know, right?
Indeed, we've shipped many thousands of base stations. We've shipped many thousands of index controllers as well, so...
I know some people have still not gotten the base stations from us yet, but that's in the progress right now. As far as I know, it's speeding up all the time, and we are trying to fulfill all the backers, all the orders, everyone who has opted for the base stations. They will get them one by one, and this is what we're working on really hard. So
No, our intention is to get everybody the base stations that have ordered them. If you've ordered base stations and index controllers, we'll get you those. We've already shipped thousands of them, but they're a small company. It's difficult to ramp up the company, along with ramping up production and ramping up everything. When I first started with Pimax, there was the teams were very small. There wasn't much in the way. Even when you started, the teams were rather small.
Absolutely, that was a year ago.
So much to the company, and we admit we got a lot of learning to do. And a lot of improvements to do, and we're going to continue to do that. But I can say that we have shipped thousands of base stations, thousands of index controllers, and then we're renewing our commitment to finishing the Pimax controllers and getting those out. But people are tired of waiting. Hey, we're going to offer you refunds on those if you ask.
So while we're talking about accessories for the Pimax headsets, why not jump into another topic of today's event, and that is some new accessories, which are new cables, mainly for the Pimax Vision 8K-X from now on. And maybe the biggest news of these two is an optical interface cable.
Right.
So yeah, so right now we are testing a 5 meter and a 6 meter optical cable which transmits the signal through the optical interface instead of the regular wires, right? And according to the Pimax engineers, they are saying that it's supposed to be possible to make a 10 meter version of this cable eventually.
Right.
Which is a huge thing, I think. I mean, you don't have
Yeah.
to even extend the cables. You could just get a 10 meter cable right away.
Yeah, and it also, of course, it offers up the possibility of not only having a 10-meter cable, but it adds the feature of only one USB port required instead of two.
Right, it's only going to have one USB and one DisplayPort connection. So
Correct.
not two USBs anymore, which is also a great thing, I think. Right, so during our
Yep.
Q&A after this show, we might be able to show you this cable in case it arrives at that time, because one sample is actually coming to my office here today.
Right.
So I may be able to even test it before we do the Q&A.
Yep.
Really, really exciting, I think. Optical cables has been discussed a lot in the Pimax official forums for a long time, and people suggest those cables because it's so much easier to just make them longer.
Yep.
And finally, there is proof that we can actually do that. And starting off with 5 and 6 meters, but then we can probably do longer ones, maybe up to 10 meters.
The other cable we have is something for laptop people who use in their laptops, right?
Right. It's a cable which basically looks the same as the current 8KX cable, which means without any external power support. It has two USB ports, but instead of the normal full-size DisplayPort cable, it's using a mini DisplayPort cable. The input, so you can connect it directly to your laptop without using any adapters. Well, of course, an adapter is cheap. But an adapter always introduces some kind of signal loss, right? No matter what cable you buy, it will always introduce signal loss. So having a cable which is already made for laptop is a great choice, I think. And I have one already here at the office, and I've tried it for several days now. It just works as the normal cable on both of my laptops with a GTX 1070 and also an RTX 2080. And yeah, it's a great addition, and it's going to be available in the store as soon as it's final. It's going to be available in the store to purchase as an accessory, basically, as a standalone accessory.
So you'll be able to get the laptop cable, you'll be able to get the optical cable, and these cables also, of course, work with future headsets, as we move on down the road. So let's talk about a subject near and dear to your heart. Let's talk about the Pimax experience.
Right. This is one of my favorite topics tonight, and it's quite a big topic. So stay tuned now, guys. This is going to be very, very interesting, I think. We have something great in the works for all the Pimax users. Whatever headset you have at home, whenever it's a 5K Plus, the old 8K, the 5K XR, or the 8KX, for instance, you will have use of this. And Kevin, before I go deep into this topic, why don't you introduce why we're doing this and what this really is, the Pimax VR Experience?
The number, I think people, a lot of people who are buy VR headsets are looking for a more plug and play experience. They want to have, they don't want to have a situation where they have to do a lot of configuration, a lot of tweaking to get the best experience for them. And for Pimax, that problem is very acute because we have the wide field of view, high resolution. We push the hardware more, so we needed to come up with a way that people could get the best out of their headsets, and we found that the average person could potentially struggle with that. So you, I, and some others got together and we started dreaming up what would we do to make that happen, right? What would we do to give you a public plug and play experience, to give you the best experience that you can get out of a Pimax? We've even seen experts who know Pimax headsets from top to bottom run with configurations that are not optimal because there's just so many configurations possible. Yeah. So we wanted to try to have put the best ideas together and build an experience that people could use to get that optimal Pimax experience so that everybody can see what the best we have to offer would be.
Right. So the Pimax VR Experience, as you just can see it right on the screen right now, it's a VR environment which is made for only Pimax headsets, all of them of course. It's built in Unity engine and it's using our own Pimax SDK, which means it's not dependent on the Steam VR interface, not the OpenVR or the Oculus SDK platform at all. It runs independently on all the existing Pimax headsets. As soon as you power on the Pimax unit you have at home and you install PiTool, that VR experience is just going to pop up inside of your headset in VR. Just like the previous or the current
Planetscape.
The Planetscape releasing, but the Planetscape is kind of empty. There's not really much you can do in there. So what we did here was we took this empty environment and built an entire UI system on top of it, where you can first of all launch any of your existing VR games, Steam VR, Oculus Home games, manually imported games, simulators, and many others, just like the PiTool game launcher is doing at this moment, of course, inside of PiTool, but in VR, of course. You can also change any of your headset settings directly in VR, like the parallel projection, the resolutions, the refresh rate, and so on, the brightness, contrast, and so on. You can create and edit profiles with settings for each game individually, of course, and also we will include a cloud-based profile system. This is something in the works right now because we want to be able to automatically and manually, of course, get correct and optimized profiles for VR games and applications that you're using. So the whole idea is that you simply can get automatic settings adjusted, such as parallel projection, without even bothering about them, without even knowing what this is, because most people don't even know what parallel projection is until they buy a Pimax headset, and they have as of right now, you have to change it manually depending on the game if it requires it or not. So you can of course manage all the profiles manually in the VR environment, but the base idea here with this Pimax VR experience is that to make things more simplified for the beginners, for new users into VR, and for new Pimax owners, right? Not only for the enthusiasts and experienced VR users, which right now are the only ones maybe who get the most potential out of the Pimax. And that's unfortunate, I think.
Right. And not only that, people have trouble sometimes just setting up the initial setup on a Pimax with setting up their IPD, for example, setting up the headset. So this new Pimax experience, we've created a system that can help people get the most out of the initial setup too, and much easier and much more organized, and get the optimal IPD setup built into the Pimax experience as well.
Right, the IPD guide or the full IPD wizard, which we have in our plan to make, we're going to get some help from our partner and engineer Matthew Hines, which is currently working on developing the IPD charts and necessary things to make the IPD wizard and to adjust easily your IPD, and first of all correctly, because it's not so easy to find your correct IPD number if you don't know what number you have, unless you went to an optician and got the correct number for your eyes. And the thing with Pimax and wide field of view headsets in general is that you really need to tune in your correct IPD number, and many people fail with that, which it brings them to an experience which is not optimal. They might see more distortion, they might see a blurry image and such, and this is what we want to prevent by doing the IPD guide or wizard inside of the Pimax VR experience.
And I would add that there are situations, for instance, if you buy a Pimax 8K Plus, where, and even some of our other headsets, where there is modifications to the Steam profiles that need to be made to get the optimal experience, and the new Pimax experience does that for you.
Yeah, I'll cover that in a second. Yeah, and the thing is that the key word here is to optimize, but also automize, or how do you say that? Make it automate the whole thing, automate the whole experience for everyone. You can do everything manually, but you don't have to do it. If you just want to jump into a game, it's supposed to be simple, right? Now with the Pimax VR Experience, the whole thing is that you're launching your games easily and convenient through the interface automatically, and it starts up SteamVR or Oculus whatever game you're playing. Of course, if it's an Oculus game, it's going to start up the Oculus mode, and once you quit the game, you quit SteamVR, you automatically pop up inside of the Pimax VR Experience again. You just browse into your Pavlov game, you start it up. Parallel projection is getting automatically disabled because it's based on the profile which is going to exist for that game. And you don't have to do anything. You quit the game and you start the next game, and all the settings are optimized for your Pimax experience. And of course, making those profiles, making all those game profiles is going to take time. It's a huge project, of course, and that's why I hope that there's going to be people out there in the community, among you guys out there, that are willing to help us out to improve this thing, to improve, create profiles, help us to make this experience something good, something great for all the Pimax owners. Also, we will look for some skilled coders. If you have some badass skills in Unity or C# coding, we might need some help from you as well, building upon, all the different features which we have on the to-do list right now in this experience.
This, this is something we plan to release in beta in July.
Right.
And when we release it, the first thing we're gonna do is, we're looking for people who are interested in contributing to the experience, that might have their own ideas, would make it great, and we want to get it up to a certain point. With a small group of people who are just interested in turning this thing into something wonderful. And then we'll make the project an open source project where everybody can contribute.
I also would like to give a little status update of the current progress and how far we have come with this project. And what you see here on the screen right now is the current version, which is still in an alpha stage. And I need to clarify something here before I continue. And maybe give myself a little bit of credit here as well, because currently I'm the only person working on this project right now in Unity. And well, it's a cool thing, right? But I'm quite new to Unity. I've been coding a lot in my life, but I'm not a really professional coder. So everything takes time. This has taken me more than 2 months to make from scratch, basically from scratch. No functions were made, in the SDK and such. So what you see here is basically what has been done until now. But I have to add that meanwhile, the Pimax engineers and coders are working on the PiTool side, creating the communication part between the Unity VR environment and the PiTool runtime. So all the settings and the adjustments can be successfully applied and synced with the runtime itself, right? For instance, changing the refresh rate, the IPD offset, the brightness, contrast, and so on. Everything is going to work parallelly together with PiTool. So this is not going to replace PiTool in any way. So as I've said, I've been working on this for a couple of months now, and we've come quite far with this project already at this point. You can launch any game, you can change the settings on your headset, you can create profiles, you can adjust your profiles for your games, you can automatically load profiles depending on what game you're launching, and there's a lot of different UI settings and stuff you can already do at this point. One of the cool specific features that already is implemented that I really like is the ability to optimize SteamVR for your Pimax headset. And I think, in my opinion, this is a must. If you have a Pimax headset, you have to configure SteamVR in the correct way to really optimize the image quality and the performance for your Pimax. Now, as you probably don't know, is that SteamVR does not really take the full advantage of the Pimax field of view, the resolution, and the overall potential of the Pimax headsets if you don't manually change some settings in the SteamVR config files. SteamVR is in fact crippling the resolution. Well, it may sound rough, but it is crippling the resolution. It makes it worse than it should be. And the image quality on the Pimax headsets by default. So this applies to basically all the Pimax headsets, but it's even more important when you're using the latest Pimax 8KX with a native 4K resolution. You really want to see that native 4K resolution in your game, right? So in the Pimax VR Experience, under the advanced settings, as you can see here, I have made two submenus, which are automatic and manual Steam VR optimizations, where you can change these settings at any time, either automatically by just pressing one button or by adjusting the values one by one. And all of that without messing around with any config files, and everything is still done in VR, in the VR experience itself. Now, also one more thing, I know I talked a lot, but there's one more thing, a specific feature in the Pimax VR Experience, which I really like, and it's one of my favorites. It's changing the scaling of the user interface. It might sound simple, of course, but listen to this. You can change the scaling between large, medium, small, and miniature. The bigger the UI scales, the further away it's from you, which is quite cool. But the main point of this is that once you go miniature mode, the UI scales down so tiny to the size that it comes very close to you, which is in fact allowing us to use not only the controller pointers, as you can see on the screen right now. I'm navigating with the controllers, right? You will also be able to use the UltraHaptics Hand-Tracking modules to interact with your hand in that environment, with all the menus and buttons and switches, and start off games with just your hands. So the idea is here that we want to be able to navigate through all the menus without even turning on your controllers if you prefer not to. We have also another thing on the to-do list, which I'm working currently on right now, is to enable a mouse and keyboard interaction support into the experience, especially for those of you Pimax owners without any controllers or base stations available, especially the ones of you
Sims and things.
Yeah, the people who are playing X-Plane with the yokes and the joysticks and pedals and stuff, they don't even need the Valve Index controllers. Maybe they just use one base station, or they just use the built-in 3 degrees of freedom tracking, which is by default available in all the Pimax headsets. So this way you will be able to control everything or navigate all the menus with mouse and keyboard interaction. And lastly, there is also plans to make this environment accessible from the desktop as well. So of course it's made for VR, but I'm planning to add a mirror view so you can actually see everything on the desktop and interact with your mouse and keyboard. So in case you just want to do some minor settings changes or sort your games, make some profiles, you don't have to do it in VR. You will be able to do it on your desktop screen as well. So Kevin, yeah, the environment is a huge project in progress. It's still in progress, but a lot of it has been made already. And I hope this will change the way Pimax users actually use their Pimax headsets, how they interact with it. And most importantly, this will make it easier, hopefully this will make it easier and more convenient for everyone to get started, to get the most potential out of your Pimax, even if you are a beginner. What do you think, Kevin?
I think that that this solves, or really moves us towards solving, at least, people just getting started. Just plugging in your Pimax, installing the PiTool. People can do that every time. It's no problem. But then when you start to configure and set your IPD and do the game settings and all of that, I think that that's the next piece that we really needed. So. And there's so much more to this, to the Pimax experience than what you've talked about here. So, I mean, I think when people see just how much there is there and all the neat things it does for you, how you can vote on the profiles, the best ones for the same games, and so many neat things that are part of it.
The possibilities are endless,
basically. It's exciting, and it's something that you won't even see on a lot of in other headsets. It'll be kind of a unique thing for Pimax, So. And then as we evolve PiTool, we're going to take those new abilities of PiTool, and you'll see them in the Pimax experience too. So those will be together, and you'll see the features mirrored between the two.
Right. We have to add that PiTool is still going to be developed, of course. I mean, that's the main heart of Pimax. Right, it's the main runtime, and the Pimax VR experience is going to connect with PiTool all the time, do all the changes, the profile things, and the team on the Pimax side, I mean at the Shanghai office side, they're still working on PiTool, improving it. There's so many features. Kevin, you can mention a few which are in the works right now.
Yeah, so we're some of the things that are in the near future roadmap. We're working on including live support, the chat our chat bot, where you can directly from inside PiTool, you can hit a button and you can talk to an engineer. If you have a problem or a question, you can talk to someone right there. There would be no tickets or all of those kinds of things. You can talk to someone immediately. That'll be a big one.
Right.
We're working on bringing back features that were in there before, but in later versions of the PiTool ended up being removed. Things like black levels for the XR, backlight control, the external tracking pucks to being able to change the orientation, adding more ways to change the orientation on that. Those are all in the roadmap.
And the motion compensation is also being worked on quite.
The motion compensation reset and the orientation for those.
Yeah.
As part of of course, we're always trying to improve those refresh rates.
Sure.
If we can get a higher refresh rate into a headset, we do. And we keep working on that. On top of all of that, there's a lot of roadmap features for PiTool. It'll be in the next couple months or so. Some of them are things that are designed to support the Pimax experience. Some of the things are designed to support the headsets. Just getting the most out of features that we have in the headsets.
Right.
But trying to make this whole thing more automatic, more user-friendly, more, less hassle to set up and get the most out of. That's where we want to be, and that's where a lot of these features are going to revolve around.
Absolutely.
And if you do have a problem, we want to be able to solve it quickly, especially if you're a new user and you're just getting going with the Pimax. We want you to be able to have the best experience possible and as fast as possible. And right now, a lot of people would say, hey, I would only recommend a Pimax to someone who tinkers a lot. We want to expand that pool out to people who are even just getting started and make that as automatic as we can make it.
Right. Wow, Kevin, we've been through a lot of topics today.
Indeed.
And right after this show, we're going to have a Q&A answering a lot of questions from backers, from Pimax owners, from new or upcoming Pimax owners.
Yes.
So this video is going to be published as soon as you quit watching this video. It should be live already, that video. It's also pre-recorded, but it's going to answer loads of your questions. And of course, we will be available in the Pimax forums and the Reddit and such, answering further questions which will come down the road.
And there's a lot we didn't cover in this. We didn't want it to go too long. There was a lot of things that we planned on talking about that didn't make it in. Yeah. But we're going to answer those questions out, in other places and in the forums, etc. But the big thing is that we want to thank everyone who has stuck with us, who through thick and thin, and being a Pimax customer, and we want you to know that it's important that, and we're very appreciative that you are going through this journey with us and trying to kind of expand the envelope of VR and having a more immersive experience and better VR experiences. And we want to help kind of pave the way for other companies to do the same thing. We're VR fans ourselves. I'm a backer. Martin was a backer. Before we had anything to do with Pimax, we were backers too.
Yeah, we're all enthusiasts, and we all want the same thing.
We're VR enthusiasts, and we wanted this to be in the best place we can get it to. And we want to thank you so much. It's your feedback that, it's the whole community's feedback that has allowed the AKX to exist and allow the MAS to exist, and coming up the Pimax controllers to exist, and all these things that try to expand what VR is, and how much immersion you can get out of it. So we just want to thank you so much for being on this journey with us, and the entire team at Pimax. Thanks you, and we appreciate you very much. On a side note, we also know this is a trying time, and with the with a worldwide pandemic, we know a lot of people are struggling, and we wish you to stay healthy and to stay safe, and this is a great time to test your VR headsets. So we just want to thank you so much. Stay safe, and thank you for watching.
Yeah, stay healthy. Thank you for watching, guys, and do not miss the upcoming questions and answers coming up.
We know that only maybe a quarter of the questions have been answered in this. We're going to hit there were as many of them as we can in the Q&A coming up next.
Absolutely. Thank you guys. See you in the next one.